Oh, there it is, the red button. Hey, welcome. My name is Adam Luke. This is Session Well, and we are doing a special get-together this evening. This is the quarantine special of Session Well. We have some amazing folks joining us, along with our spouses. We'll get more into that. So I'm Adam Luke. I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist. We created Session Well because we wanted a space for pre-licensed and licensed clinicians, along with the average Joes, to be able to jump in and see what the professionals use during therapy, whether it's interventions, new books we've read, anything that we can use to help you be your best self, we're here for that. So my partner in crime, who's now also in quarantine, is...
Me?
No. but also, we'll come back. We'll come back.
My name is Judy and I'm also an LMFT, and this is my husband, AJ, and this is our couples quarantine episode. We just figured that, seeing your partners in a different way because of this whole lockdown thing, it might have changed your relationships, or you might have learned new things about each other, or maybe you're sick of them. We just wanted to kind of explore couples and relationships and how we're all just kind of doing life together in this whole time period of COVID-19.
Perfect. So I'm going to introduce my spouse.
I'm Jill.
So.
And I'm an executive assistant at food manufacturing, so still essential.
Woohoo! And we've been married 4 years, so everyone's going to list out how long they've been married.
This is my spouse.
My name's AJ. Judy and I have been married for just short of a year now, 10 months, I think. Actually, as of Thursday, I think, this week?
I don't know. I'm not very good with our month anniversaries, which is bad.
They're basically a newborn baby.
We're still very much in the infantile stages of it. I'm a furloughed entertainment management guy. Ran mostly union construction crews. Grips, $3.99 truck drivers, that sort of thing. So spending a lot of time doing volunteer work and waiting to go back to work.
Next couple.
Me?
Yeah.
Hey, what's up? Jeff Ortiz, licensed marriage and family therapist, also known as the Love Big Love Wide guy. I'm here with my beautiful wife,
Veronica
Ortiz, and we've been married 8 going on 9 years in June. So
Wow.
yeah, time flies, man. We're having fun.
Thank you, Jeff, for being here. You are like our most returning guest, and we always appreciate that. Thank you.
I love you guys, man. It's always fun to be with you guys. And then to have my wife, oh man, this is gonna be extra exciting. All the questions defer to her because she wants them all. Trust me. Let's see, she wants them all.
I was wondering, just knowing who Veronica is, I wondered if she typed something out and was like, so this is what you can say in this response? Anything about me, smile.
Right, exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Adam, you know.
And then, Veronica, are you working right now?
Yes.
Yeah, she's working from home.
So I'm working from home. I work for Reproductive Endocrinology group, and fortunately I've been able to work from home full time. My love and I share an office, and sometimes it's a struggle. Yeah. I have to be in there 8 hours a day, and so we make it work. So it's been difficult, but the transition is coming along.
It ain't difficult for me, trust me. It ain't difficult for me.
It's always easy knowing who you're going to lunch with, right?
Right,
Right?
exactly.
Yes. And it's great when lunch is ready. Awesome.
Nice.
Awesome.
Our last couple.
So my name is Dean Jackson, and I happen to be the father-in-law to Judy, and AJ is my son, and I'm currently the. You want to say who you are first?
Our son.
Our son.
Yes, Mama.
This is
I'm pretty
Mom.
sure I did the hard part, but go ahead.
Yes, she did. She did.
And you are?
I'm the interrupter. I'm an average Joe listener, and my name is Marlys. I'm also a real estate broker and considered essential. Still, we're just doing a lot of work. We're virtually, learn lots from Session Well and helping people through the most crazy times of their life, buying or selling property. So that's cool. Yeah.
And I'm the Deputy Executive Director for the Cold Case Foundation. So we actually work on homicides, missing persons, unidentified bodies, and then sexual assaults with serial characteristics. And so I do that, but I also work as a chaplain. And so that part of it does become essential. And case in point, yesterday I had to go out and do a funeral service for an officer. So that's kind of where we're at. We've been married 31st of May. We'll have been married 35 years.
Nice.
I
Very
was
nice.
2 when I got married.
So
Very
you
young.
beat all of us by a little bit.
Yes, a little bit.
Well, thank you so much for being willing to come on and share your experience and be a part of the discussion.
Thank you, guys. So we just had a few questions that we wanted to explore, and then you guys can ask questions too. I think our first one is just, how has your relationship dynamic, home life, whatever, how has it changed in the last few weeks because of being in quarantine?
Don't everybody
Yeah.
jump in at once.
I mean, yeah, obviously, Veronica, I think you started working from home on the 13th or something like that. So
Okay.
it's been a couple weeks, going on 3 weeks now, or a month. I don't know. It all kind of.
It's all blending together.
But I mean, it's been a transition. Obviously, not going to work, bringing her computer home from work and working in the office, and it was kind of sad for me because that's where I do a lot of my work, a lot of prep work, a lot of things that I don't do with marriage and family therapy. It's stuff on the side that I'm doing, and so I lost that space because I don't want to. I have a tendency to get people distracted, and so I didn't want to distract her, and so I don't want to ask her a million questions and bother her and that sort of thing, and I want to let her do her work. So I try to keep to myself. We have a little miniature schnauzer. We call her Little Boss. She follows me around to make sure that I'm doing stuff around the house, and I think she's programmed by my wife, but. But it's been an adjustment in that regard, and it's just weird. It's just, this whole thing is weird, like super weird. And when it started happening, I was like, really, is this really happening? Are they really canceling? So I'm a sports guy, and I'm like, are they really canceling sporting events? And then we, limiting how much interaction we can have. It's just been weird. That's the best word I can use. It's like, stuck in a twilight zone. Like, is this really happening? I mean, obviously it's really happening, but it's real.
And I appreciate you being willing to speak like from that part, because I think sometimes as licensed marriage and family therapists, people just assume that we don't experience life like that. Like, we have these moments that we're like, is this really happening? Or we have to change the dynamics in our own home, right?
Yeah. And I mean, we're not robots, and we have to, do telehealth, like, those of us in the because you still go to office, right, Adam?
Yeah. So because I'm residential substance abuse and treatment, I actually have a facility I go to.
So being in private practice, like, it's a little different, right? And so we had to see clients, via telehealth through, we have a program that we use that we do it just like this, and that's been an adjustment, and some are comfortable with that, and so they're like, no, I'm just going to go ahead and wait. Well, if they're waiting, then, this is the business side of it. I'm not getting paid. And it becomes that challenge. But I got into this field because I was called to it. And so I have faith that it'll work itself out. And so what I've been doing and focusing on is the social media side of it, and putting out and letting people know, and kind of educating them on, some of the things that they may be experiencing and going through that stuff. So it's just one of those things where adjusting, right? So I'm not seeing clients, but I'm like, how can I help people that aren't my clients, but I still care about? How can I help them through this process? And so I've been just doing that kind of stuff.
And I've loved seeing that tenacity with your posts, because you're doing the videos, right? And what's amazing is you're still creating in a time where a lot of people have gotten to that spot of waiting, right? And especially like with our clients, just deciding, okay, I'm going to try to wait this out. Well, now we're getting a couple weeks out where it's like it has been a month without therapy. So maybe people haven't been to 2 sessions, or maybe they were weekly. And so now we're getting even closer to this dynamic where I think people are going to have to bridge the gap of telehealth, because your problems and your anxieties don't stop when it's just non-essential emotions go away. That doesn't work.
Wouldn't that be great? We wouldn't have a job if that's the case. That's for sure. But it's true.
Though, I would think, though, that there may be a whole new client base for you guys as well, and those are people that just the whole feeling of maybe even being stigmatized by going somewhere, and even if just getting in the car and being seen at a location or whatever, for some people it can be overwhelming. And I would think that if it's done right and people really understand it, there really may be some opportunities for people to really plug in through this medium from the privacy of their home, where they feel very comfortable. As long as you're able to really, reaffirm to them, the nature of this actually being private, and that's always a concern. But I think once you get past that, it would seem to me that there may be a group of people out there that maybe in the past have been maybe a little hesitant to utilize therapy, that may be open to it. And then I think secondly, part of what we learn about stress management is, when we don't talk, and when we don't talk through it and have someone to share with, we oftentimes end up filing stuff in the wrong compartment. And then that over time can really be a time bomb we don't realize. So when people realize, hey, I may have to do it a little bit differently, but there is a way for me to connect. And then I think you re-emphasize the fact that, you are the trusted person that they had before. You've not gone anywhere. In fact, you've actually created a new way in which they can still stay connected with you. And I think those are the kinds of things that can really help your business going forward, as well as be a service.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with that.
That was a serious wisdom bomb right there. I appreciate that.
That's the only one I've got, so I'll call my mic and leave.
Yeah.
See ya.
It was great meeting you guys.
Thanks, guys. We just gave you our whole 35 years in one moment. So.
That was concentrated.
Just add water.
Yeah.
Aside from clients maybe not being comfortable, it's also us trying to create a space, I think, on our end that is appropriate, or I guess like therapeutic. So like in an office, we can decorate or however we want, but then we're almost kind of inviting them into our homes too. And so I think for me personally, it's been kind of difficult trying to figure out, okay, one, how do I make sure it's confidential and it's private for them? So we have really loud dogs, as everybody seems to know. Like, they are really loud breathers and they bark at everything. And so I have to figure out how to like make them go away. And then also make sure there's appropriate lighting, and then our Wi-Fi is not the best either. And so that, like, just setting up the dynamic, it's like so much more than just to walk into a nicely furnished office and just doing therapy. And so you see all the memes out there of like, hi, I'm dressed from like waist up, but like
I know that God had never let me get away with that, so I always dress fully. But I'm also going to go back to the fact that I think that's one of the points that we wanted to talk about in this video is, I'll just speak for myself as a therapist. My house has always sort of been my sanctuary, right? It's the place that I don't bring work into. I do my best not to bring it in. And then when you do have to do telehealth sessions and it is in your house, it feels like a major boundary violation at the very beginning, right? Because like for me, I have very few private practice clients, but the ones I do, I was like, okay, so that's my office. My office is essentially a wall. And, it's funny because we changed the paintings out back and forth so that it looks more professional. But it's weird because right next to it is my old leather couch. And this has been that safe place. And I'm not saying that you can't have it be the safe place, but it's definitely different, because it's not like as a therapist when I got to get in my truck and I got to drive to the office, and then I opened that space and I grounded myself in that space, and then I did therapy. And it's just different.
You know, one of the other things that, and it would depend client to client, but one of the things that you do have an option with, I know, like, for example, on this one, if you go down where it shows the video start and stop, if you click on that, you can actually choose virtual backdrops as well. I don't know if you've ever done that. So, like, this is one of them that I use for.
Yes.
Wow.
So,
See, I was today years old when I found that out.
but the reason I bring it up is because so you can have some privacy. But the other reason I bring it up is I was we did a case review Friday. It was we were almost 4 hours long into it. And so, you know, some of the people had backdrops, some of them didn't. And, but we had one of our team members that her backdrop it made it look like she was sitting on her patio with this gorgeous beach and waves coming in. The wind was kind of blowing the palm tree, and it was behind her. And I found myself multiple times, because it was pretty intense stuff. And every time she would talk or come up there, it was like, wow, I wish I was where she's at. And then I'd remind her she's at home. She's in a really, you know, she just has got a backdrop. So, but I think there's some creative things you can do as well. So,
thank you.
It's a good idea.
Well, how's it for you guys, Adam and Jill? Like, because you guys are still going out to work, even though a lot of us are like inside. Like, how's that affected you guys, your relationship?
I think, at least for me, it's taken a lot of like my scheduling distractions away. So I'm here when we're home, we're here, and we can't really go anywhere, obviously. So it's been interesting, because Adam still has like his second job at night. So, yeah, it's hard to make myself scarce.
And so when she says second job, that's my online teaching that I do for Hope International University. So that has sort of, I wouldn't say thrown a wrench, but with everything being shut down, there's definitely been a change. So I know the thing that I've really been noticing as a therapist is a heightened state of stress and anxiety right now, because of the population I work with. I absolutely love my job. I love serving a population that wants to get sober. But the population I serve is largely coming out of the prison system or off the streets, specifically the Skid Row areas. And so with what we know of the virus and the outbreaks, there is concern, because you just don't know when it's going to walk into your facility. And then as the lead clinician there, I'm also responsible for 47 other beneficiaries who've decided that they want to change their life. So it very much feels like wartime, because you're sort of balancing, okay, I'd never want to turn someone away from that moment that they're having in their life where they want to change for the better. But at the same time, how do I wrestle with individuals who are still may have contact with this virus? So, you know, we are a couple that see our parents quite frequently, and that's probably changed the greatest, just because, like, with my family, they have pre-existing conditions. So I normally saw my dad every 7 days, and I haven't seen him for a month. And it's largely, you know, he and I had this conversation like 3 weeks ago. I needed a pickup from my mechanic was fixing my truck. And I called him and I said, hey, do you mind running me back home to get my other car? And then he had this like pause, and we realized it was because I had been working down in downtown LA, and he was like, I really want to, but I need to say no. Mm-hmm. And it was a new moment for us both, because he's always been able to say yes. But then you understand how scary it is if, God forbid, he were to contract this. So it's been trying to find that quiet place to have your own self-care. And so we actually just worked on this week of like when I come home, my first 2 hours when she's not around, I'm grounding myself. I'm doing whatever I got to do to stay in the present. That way we can still function as a couple and still have fun. And the other side is I can actually enjoy recharging as a person. Sorry to take over the session, but that's that. It has been an adjustment because like Jill and I will look at each other in the morning and be like, we're so grateful to have jobs and have paychecks coming in, but staying home today would be pretty cool too. But you just you get back on the horse and you go for it.
Has any of you guys, like, I know you were saying about like not being able to see your dad. Have you guys noticed any difference between the way, I don't know, like the way, like, can you see your kids, Jeff and Veronica, and, you know, and then Dean and Marlys, like you guys still going out there? Like, has it changed the way you're interacting with other people? And then also like our cleaning process when we get into the home? So I know for him and I, like he does more of the errands. And he just does. Not that I think he has better, you know, immune system or anything, but I'm just like, you just go.
More flexibility in my schedule right now because you're essential and you're doing everything telecommuting. It's entertainment. It's not until everyone's done watching everything on Amazon and Netflix, then we'll become essential. But in the meantime, that's why it makes sense. I mean, you're doing stuff that's making money for the family. I can handle the other part.
But even like us taking like the cleaning and like taking off our clothes in the garage and not touching or like my parents, it's like I was more just curious, like how are you guys doing that too?
Yeah, I think we use hand sanitizer and wash our hands and do all the things that, you know, everything got up the level, right? With caring for ourselves and being mindful of who we're around. And, you know, we're in a blended family. So my boys would commute back and forth from here and their mom. And I told them, I was like, you can't be going back and forth. Like, you got to pick a place. Like, I don't care which spot you pick. You just, you know, you got to be mindful to stay in one spot. And, you know, if this thing's as big as it, you know, they say it is, I haven't been impacted personally from it. So, you know, it hasn't had that effect in the sense that somebody's gotten sick close to me. I mean, I've been impacted, but not with the sickness. So, but I just being mindful, you know, of other people too. Like if I have to go to the grocery store, maintaining the 6 feet and not getting too close, you know, just kind of being mindful of that stuff. And one of the first things I talked about is just because they're enforcing the social distancing, it's really a physical distancing, right? So we can still be social in this aspect. And I think that's how it's changed for us is like the girls will FaceTime mom. And, you know, my sisters and dad will FaceTime and we'll have times where we're together. And that, you know, those are neat. And so I think that's one of the benefits that have come from this is being able to maybe be more regular and seeing each other on a video screen, interacting that way and not waiting so long in between to physically see each other. I think that's one of the good things, but it's definitely, man, everything's changed, I think.
Yeah.
I think it is kind of cool with the FaceTiming and the Zoom and whatnot to see my girls. You know, I have one up in Michigan and one in San Jose, so I see them as often as I'd like to. But, you know, they've got their little phones and they're, you know, telling me what to do, or they'll FaceTime me and all three of us. And, you know, Jeff will get in and we'll, you know, chat and, you know, same old, but that's okay. It's nice to see their faces and just know that they're okay and, you know, doing what they're supposed to do to be safe. So, and as for my parents, it's difficult. You know, they're both, you know, older and they both have compromised health. So they really need to stay put. You know, my mom is such she wants to do. So she will text, or my dad will text, can I make you some beans? Can I make you some, you know, she always wants to comfort with food. And, you know, so, you know, stay home, put it outside, I'll drive by, I'll grab it, we'll get it, you know, and
we'll get it, Mom.
Yeah.
You make it, we'll get it. I always tell her, you cook well, I will go get it.
Yeah, that part has been great. And, you know, rice pudding, just homemade salsa, you know, it's been awesome. And we've done the Zoom thing.
What's your address?
Yeah, can you
Yeah.
use some of that outside?
Yeah, exactly.
If you guys ever don't want to make the trip, I'll just put on a Jeff Ortiz cap, run up
That's
to the
right.
porch, grab it,
That's
run
right.
away.
Oh, you will not be
Yeah.
disappointed, my friend. No.
Trust me, she would make an extra batch. She loves to cook for people. So we love to
Enjoy her food.
enjoy it. Yeah.
Mhm.
What about you, Marlys and Dean?
I already gave him all my stuff, so it's
Actually, I'm not texting her. I'm not texting my sisters or my mom at all. It's almost all FaceTime. So
Mhm.
as we were talking about that, now I'm doing way more FaceTiming. I'm helping my sister remodel her home via FaceTime, which is agony. I tell you, do not do it. But it has been fun in that we've been able to spend time that way. My parents are very disobedient, and so they don't live near me anyway, but they continually go out. So I don't know, maybe they're getting even with me for when I was a teenager. They told me not to go out. I don't know, but so that's a little frustrating. But you know, I also understand needing to get out. You know, I get that. I'm such a people person. That's probably been my hardest thing, is not just hugging whomever I feel like hugging, which is pretty much everyone. That's been really, really, really hard for me. Or accidentally seeing somebody in a store and wanting so bad to just have that touch, and you can't. And it's just, that's been the weird thing for me, because it's so not my personality. I think that's been the hardest thing for me. I don't know. And he does have to, if he's been mostly doing the, wow, it's a Jackson boy thing, because he's been doing most of the errands, and then he just has to strip in the garage, and we handle it like, you know, it's.
I'd have her do the errands if I thought I could get her to strip in the back of the garage. Unfortunately, it just doesn't work out that way.
So now that's out there for everyone. So anyway, that's
For everyone.
Don't worry.
You guys
This
are
is
good
only
team.
going on the internet.
Well, you know, I think for us, one of the biggest changes, so Marlys's job as a real estate broker, she's all over the state, actually, because she covers the whole state. You know, she would get up in the morning, she would be gone all day long. I work out of a home office, so that part of it's not been as big of a change, other than now that she's here, she's in her office, I'm in my office. So that's a big kind of adjustment. But I think the biggest adjustment for me has been, I travel so much, both nationally and internationally. I mean, in December, I was in India, I was in Japan. You know, last year I was in Poland and Germany. And so all of these different things. And so that part of it for me has, you know, I've already missed multiple places where we were to speak, conferences, different things that we were to do. Yeah. So that part of it, I think, has been a huge adjustment. I think, you know, back to what Adam was talking about, just regarding some of these uncertainties and stuff. Yesterday I was talking to somebody, and there was years and years ago, I worked in a coroner's office as a deputy coroner. And I do remember, because you're always trying to, well, what can I equate this to? What can I relate it to? And so when Adam was kind of describing his feelings at work, and you know, you still have a job to do, and you're not sure about it. And it reminded me, I was actually working as a deputy coroner when the AIDS epidemic hit. And so for weeks, we didn't know what it meant. We just knew that this was really bad. We didn't know how you actually got it. I mean, there were so many dynamics to it. And, but that didn't stop what we were having to do. And so you did the best you could within the knowledge you had. But I think the really big piece for people is I think there's a tendency sometimes for people to feel overwhelmed by information, or they don't like to hear information that's negative. But I think that it's counterintuitive. But the more information you can get, and obviously you got to be careful of your sources, but knowledge is power. And I think a lot of times we fear things because we don't know. And I think for me, as scary maybe as this pandemic has been globally, I have a lot of contacts both internationally. So I'm able to kind of reach out and ask people from so many different walks of life, how is this impacting? What are you saying? I mean, I have a ton of friends that are doctors, both in the United States and internationally. And when you start talking to them, you know, I'm not in any way trying to downplay it. There is a huge concern, but I also think that, you know, with that knowledge that you start getting, it starts eliminating the fear. I mean, I don't think Marlys and I have had one moment where we've been scared or panic stricken or whatever. Inconvenienced, frustrated at things, yes. Realizing uncertainties, there's always that level of concern for your family.
Mm-hmm.
You know, all of those things. But I've found for me, at least, the more knowledge I can get and the more I can get good resources of information. And I think as this thing starts kind of turning, we'll get past it. And, you know, I have great faith in our medical folks. I think, you know, I think it's not like somebody hasn't been working on this night and day, trying to figure this out on all ends, right? Both in how do we prevent people from getting it, but also when people have it, how do we get them back off of the sickness? So
Yeah,
I think you speak to sort of the heart of, I think, American society, is that we have like sort of had it built in that we don't really trust too many people. And that's a part of the fear process for us, is because, you know, when the British said, hey, why don't you pay some tax on tea, we shot them. So we're not the greatest at listening to authority. So when we look at it from the other side, is, you know, trying to find that trustworthy news. And I'm sorry, it doesn't matter what color you bleed in the news world. It's all conflicting information.
right.
And so that's what sort of drives those anxieties, right? And so I don't know how many times as a therapist in the last month I've been doing my own grounding exercises of what can I control, what can't I control, right? And so as we sort of focus on that as individuals, that it means that we can do more than just survive this time of shelter in place. We can thrive in it, and we can actually have memories. If anything, working with families, I'm trying to get them to be like, I know that you're forced not to go to work, but you're also forced to be able to have time to be present with your kids.
yeah,
Like trust me, you can make the best of this, or you can make the worst of it.
yeah.
And it can be something that you look back on and say, yes, did we have financial hardship because of it? Yes. Did our dreams get delayed a little? Yes. But I got to spend time with my kids. I got to spend time with my wife. I got to spend time whatever. And I think that can really change the context of what we're going through.
I think something that just kind of came to mind is changing the phrase from I have to I get to. So I think that's had like a really big impact on me, as far as like, dude, I would love to stay home and sleep all day. That would be great. Like, but I get to go to work today. I don't have to, I get to, you know, so yeah.
The only downside to I get to is that now I get to work out like 4
Totally.
mile to a park to run a mile. So, I mean,
So what you're telling me is the dogs and AJ are getting more steps in than before.
But he's like losing all the weight, but then I'm gaining it all because I just eat all the snacks. But that's fine.
Remember, as a couple, you work together, right? So you're the emotional
Balance.
eater. He's burning it for you.
Like, has anything increased for you guys, like as couples? Like for us, our exercise together has increased because usually we do our own exercises. And then we've been doing I think every night because now that we know we kind of get to sleep in, we switch off for movie picks. So like I'll pick a movie, he picks a movie, or I'll pick a show and he picks a show. And then so every night we've just been switching off, which actually has been like kind of nice because it's interesting to see like the movies that he's been talking about and that he loves for forever. And then, I mean, ideally I would like them, but I don't like all of them. And then I made him watch The Notebook finally.
It only took the president shutting down the economy to get him to watch The Notebook.
Oh, AJ, how's the therapy going?
it's going fantastic. And to be fair, I always said that I would watch it, but I got up at 5 in the morning before they shut this down and changed our lives. We just never really had the time to do it. So I mean, like you said, it's a get to.
Have you
What about you guys, Jeff and Veronica?
What was the question? I obviously being around each other, being able to, the past few days have been different, but we've been making dinner and cooking and doing, eating the same foods. Like I'll make her lunch and, start making dinner before she gets off the clock. And so it's been, it's an adjustment. It's good, right? Like being flexible with what we've been thrusted into and trying to make the best of it. Honestly, I have friends that have young ones, that little kids, and I can't imagine what it'd be like to have little ones running around. That's the part that I'm like, oh my goodness. I'm so thankful that my baby's a senior in high school and he's at the end here. I hope that they have a graduation for him.
Absolutely.
I'm gonna be a little selfish in this one because it's my baby. Like I want the graduation for me so I can take the pictures and we can, this is it. And he's going to college, and for him, he's an easygoing kid. He doesn't care. Like, trust me, I know he doesn't care if they have a graduation or not because he's already thinking college and he's got his mindset. So one of those things for all the parents out there that they have kids graduating high school and college, and it's wow, and it's bigger than just me or Veronica or anybody. It's going through this, and that's one of the messages that I've been trying to get out. Like, we're all in this together.
Absolutely.
It's a struggle. It's not easy, and it's trying to figure out how we can balance everything out as best as possible. And at times it's frustrating. I know I get on her nerves. Like that's it's like you guys know me. Like
you have no idea living with them all day, every day.
Yeah, he's all talking about, I can't imagine being with a little one. Veronica's like, yeah, I can.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
She's over here dying because you got me saying, hey Jeff, why don't you go run some errands for me?
Yeah, exactly.
I'm excited just to go, so I don't even
go outside.
Oh, let me tell you, it's been great. He has painted the inside of the house. He's done a nice frame for me inside my outside my picture. He's done a great job.
There's Little Boss. That's Little Boss.
Little Boss, yeah.
There you go.
He really runs the show. But yeah, it's just, man.
I think we're now starting to get into an uncomfortable conversation. So let's not start talking about all the things our husbands either need to do or have done. It might be a little bit problematic for some people out there.
If you told us once, you don't have to tell us every 3 months. Okay?
Right, exactly. That's a lot.
Can I comment on something that was said, though? Because I think it's, and I don't mean to be super controversial here, but I know that sometimes in our culture, we get so locked into days and events, and I'll give you kind of an example of this. So, I grew up in a foreign country. I graduated from school, actually, from the University of Nebraska, and I've never been to that facility in my life, ever. Mm-hmm. I didn't attend a graduation until I went to college. My career has been one that, even with my family, with my wife and with my kids, it just always seemed inevitable that anything we had specially planned, there was always some major catastrophe or something, or somebody in crisis, and we had to cancel it. Mm-hmm. Marlys and I, one of our big kind of conversations last fall was that this year in May is our 35th wedding anniversary. And we were trying to think, I don't know when the last time we were together on our anniversary was, just because of the way our schedule was. So for us, one of the cool things is we're actually going to be together on our anniversary, because the reason I was going to be gone has been canceled. So we're able to kind of have that unique experience. But the counter to that is I think sometimes what we do is we create a day, we lock it in, and we say this day has to be it. And if anything happens, then that's kind of the end. That's the total, everything's over. And what we found was, and AJ can attest to this, when things didn't work out, it wasn't so much about worrying about the exact date and time. as it was finding the alternative to it.
Mm.
And so I think as a culture, one of the things that will be helpful is maybe for schools and organizations to find alternatives, kind of a new way to honor those. Because while the kids may not understand this right now, this is a tough time because they don't get the graduation, but on the flip side of that, they are very unique. They may be one of the only generations. And so we can do some extra special things for them kind of on the backside that nobody else gets. And I give you an example of it. When I was a kid growing up, and I grew up in Japan, I remember at one point I was so mad because I've never played football in my life. Now, whether you can see it from here or not, I'm a big guy. The number one question I get asked all the time is, who'd you play football for? I have never in my life ever had a entire football uniform on. I don't know what it's like to feel all the pads, everything, and to play football. It's just not been part of my experience. And so I remember one day I was really upset. I was in junior high school, and I was really just letting my mom have it. You know, this is horrible. This sucks. You know, I'm this big of a guy. I mean, I had a set of pads, and I would get neighborhood kids to come into our yard and try to tackle me, and I'd run from one end of the yard with like all these Japanese kids hanging on me. I mean, I wanted so bad to play. And my mom said something to me that really was a transformative moment in my life. She said, "You're looking at the wrong thing." She said, you're worried about what you didn't get to do. But she said, how many kids have had the opportunity to grow up in a foreign country and and she started going through all these unbelievable experiences that I had. And it was really driven home to me my freshman year in college, because I flew halfway around the world, 17 years old, all by myself, got to college, walked into my dorm room, and my roommate was 19 years old. And he had made the longest trip of his life, which was 3 hours, to come to that big city to go to college. And he was scared to death. I would go to work, I'd come home, and he would ask me to walk him down to the 7-Eleven so he could buy stuff. And so it was one of those life lessons that just kept being driven home to me over and over and over again. And to this day, you know, I can point at things I didn't have and I didn't get to do, but it's so far outweighed by the things that I have gotten to do and the experiences of life and the things I've seen and I've witnessed and I've been able to participate in. And so I think it's really important, and parents play a huge part in this, of being able to really, you know, help their kids understand what the narrative is really going to be. You know, we have an experience, we go through a life experience. We can't change the experience, but we sure can change what the narrative about that experience is, what needs to be highlighted, what was the most important thing, the things that are maybe painful or overwhelming. You know, we don't need to keep coming back to that. We can let that kind of, it's not that we're ignoring it or saying it doesn't exist, but it becomes secondary to the story. It's backdrop coloring. It's not the story. And I think that's really important in life. And I think a lot of people are going to have to figure out with this pandemic, what is the story? You know, what is it? What is the story in my life individually? What is it in my life spiritually? What is it in my life as a person of business? All of those things are going to come into play. So,
really well said. I mean, I think that is a thing that we miss, right? We always go to what we didn't get, and very rarely. So sometimes when we don't get it, we realize how much we didn't need it. So,
yeah.
I like how, Deanie, I think you just pointed out reframing a circumstance to take a negative circumstance and make it positive, or making an opportunity have a different narrative, a different outcome, a different perspective. And I think that's everything when we're looking at life in general, especially when we're facing adversity.
Well, I serve on the state of Utah's critical incident debriefing team. So we work with first responders following, you know, horrific things. And one of the things that we've found is that you do get to kind of reframe it. And it actually has been helpful for people even struggling with PTSD. It doesn't mean the experience didn't happen, but there's a lot of other things that you can focus on out of that, and the really positive things. And I think even with this crisis, there's some really neat, wonderful things that are happening, and more could happen if people focus on
Yeah, I agree.
Anything in your partners during this whole crisis of like, that maybe that you didn't necessarily like appreciate or didn't know about them, but like we're basically in a collective crisis together as people. So have you guys noticed anything in your partners and just in the way that they've showed up during this whole thing?
This is a safe space for spouses to talk. Trust me.
I was just going to say, Marlys doesn't like to get naked when we come in from being out. I think I already told you that. So.
We've been married for so long, so this doesn't seem like a big crisis to us, honestly. I mean, the things that we went through the first 5 years were epidemic, pandemic, I don't know, colossal craziness. So this is easy in comparison to, so I don't know that there's been a surprise other than he makes me tea every morning. And he's never done that before, so I guess that's good.
Every day too, which has been nice.
Yeah, it's very nice to have that in the morning. I don't know. I guess maybe because so for us, we have a different perspective of already going through so many difficult things that to this us, and maybe I should just say for me because he can speak clearly for himself.
Oh no, they froze. Are you still there?
Oh, she probably had a lot of wisdom too.
I know.
Right? Oh no.
But I'm gonna make it through. So what? Uh-oh.
You completely froze.
Oh, we did. Oh, well, I can't remember what I said now.
It was probably the golden word.
The best, yeah.
I don't know what you guys did here, but I'm just saying that for us, because we've gone through so many difficult things in our marriage, and that's what marriage is. It's not that, well, I've been awesome, but anyway. And now you're going to know where all the sarcasm comes from with AJ. It's pretty much his mother. But anyhow, I would say because of all the things we've gone through, I'm not surprised at how he's shown up, how he's not afraid. And I think maybe it's just because, and I'm not either, because we've already made it through other things. And for me, the worst thing that could happen is that I would be separated from my family, but then I'd be with Jesus. So it's okay.
Well put.
I thought you were going to cry.
No.
Don't you start.
I can't help it.
Let her feel. Let her feel, Dean. Let her go. Don't say nothing.
So.
Sorry, Jill. I apologize.
No, you're good. You're good.
Oh.
I was sure it was going to be me first, but
Yeah. I could feel it. Like the sprinklers are turning on.
I think what I've noticed about AJ is you're the stable one. You're such a bummer.
Did you say a bummer?
I'm
Oh, you're the
emotional outbursts. But I do. So I think in the beginning, I was frustrated with him because he was so calm. Like, and I would have like chest pains all the time. Like, oh my God, I have COVID. Or, you know, he'd be like, no, baby.
Well, and I'd make you go with me to go running.
Yes.
And then when you weren't short of breath, then we knew it wasn't COVID. It was definitely anxiety. So we were testing.
Yes. So I think that was, it was at first not a pleasant surprise, but then it actually, I think, has been amazing because he's super calm and he's grounded. I'm like, you know, frantic, and I think I go right to the worst of all things anyway. And so I think that that's been really nice to just kind of see, oh, okay, like we can go through a crisis together. Like, you know, but I think initially it was frustrating because we weren't on the same page of how we felt about, you know, all the news media, what we were hearing, how severe is this? And it was a lot of like, why aren't you freaking out? Like, I don't understand. Why am I freaking out? And so I think after I realized, okay, like, I don't have to freak out. It's fine. That's been really nice to see. And it's just that he's able to bring a lot of stability in like our marriage during this like crazy chaotic time.
Well, I promise when it's time to freak out that I'll let you know, and then we can do it together. And then we say, the great thing for you, and again, why I can see all the anxiety is because you're literally having to retool all of your lesson plans for all of your students, for all your classes, all of your high school and your graduate classes. So like, I mean, forget all the news side of it. You're literally upending your whole professional life, and you're keeping it together. It's just like you're carrying a ton on there. So, I mean, totally, it makes sense that the extra stuff would be a little frustrating. So, why would I add to it? Like I said, we can freak out later. When it's time to freak out, we'll go outside and run around with underwear on our head or something.
Well, I mean, if I can reframe for a little bit, I mean, just sitting here listening to you guys and knowing you guys on a personal note, it is a cool thing when we have something like this. Your mom sort of touched on it. When you have these crazy events show up in marriages, it's cool because you get to find your groove. And so you're just finding your groove in this moment on like who does this. And the best thing for Jill and I is like, we are very independent people. That's probably something that we struggled with for like 3 years of our marriage. Was like, it went from I love you to it was like a battle of attrition where we were just testing each other. And then it realized like, we don't need to do that. And so then we just realized there's your natural puzzle pieces. There's things that she does that I can't do. There's things that I do that she can't. And then there's that in between where we're both good at it and we're just going to have to find out how we break it up. Like, and that is something that I learned through, again, the first 3 years, but then it was hysterical when this whole thing happened. And I don't mean to make it like we're playing it off, but it was like, okay, so you get off work first, you go find toilet paper. And it was like, when you found toilet paper, I'll have dinner ready. And it was this, it's this crazy little blend. And that's what we decided we were going to do.
Yeah.
And so we play to that. We changed to play to our strengths. And that's how we get through it.
Yeah. I think we're learning how to tag team better than we ever have. We've really struggled with that in our marriage. So how can we work together so we're both feeling recharged at the end of the day, ready for the next day, immune system's up. Like how do you do that? So good point.
What about you guys, Jeff and Veronica?
What's that? What's the question? I'm so caught up in what you're saying. What's the question?
I think she said that Veronica needs to share for about 15 or 20 minutes.
Yeah, I'm down with that.
Pass the hat, Jeff.
She already told me, she's like, you better speak the whole time. And I'm like, okay. But I said, I know there's going to be a point that they're going to make you speak. Because I don't have a problem with this. But she's wise. Come on, baby. Let the world hear.
No. We've it was hard at first, and Jeff had great ideas for me, like with starting to work at home and whatnot. And he said, just keep a routine, get up, get ready, make your coffee, start working, just and he's really been a great support in keeping me on track and whatnot, because I don't like change. I don't like change at all. And so he's a really great support and keeping me uplifted. I'm used to getting up and going to work and interacting with my coworkers, and it's Jeff all day long. I'm working and having breaks and whatnot, but he's just done a really great job to keep me motivated and uplifted, and makes my coffee if I wake up late. And
I think it goes back to what Dean was talking about, because we've been through life circumstances one way or the other. Like, we know we're going to make it through this. We don't know how it's going to look on the other side, but we're together in this situation. There's been points before we've met that we've been through different struggles, and, going through a divorce is definitely one of them. And, knowing that, hey, we're going to make this work. Like, we're going to figure it out. You got to work from home, things are going to change, but we're going to do our best. I don't know how long it's going to last, but it gets back to what Dean talked about, reframing and looking at life in a different perspective and understanding, hey, hopefully this is just temporary, but there could be some good that come out of it. There can be some different ways that we do therapy. There can be different ways that, people can work from home, or, whatever it is. Things are going to change because of this. And I'm hoping that a lot of great things come out of it. I'm always thinking about different things that I can incorporate and, and how I can help people, right? Because that's my main goal, is to help people. And what can I do and how can I do it? And social media is a great platform. And then being able to offer different things, online services and that sort of thing. Because Dean's right. Like, there is a population that feels more comfortable doing this at home. And I get it. Like, it's not, therapy's hard. You got to call somebody and you got to go to the office and you got to sit on the foreign couch. And I've been on that side, so I get it. And so it's just all this change. And, it's not easy, right? I'm the natural extrovert. Veronica's the introvert, obviously. And so, but I'll tell you, this woman is strong. Just because she's introverted, and man, this girl, she'll see the eyes, she'll put me in a place, like, really. So I can play, and then when it's time to get serious, then I gotta get serious. But it's we all balance each other out. That's why that's why the Mr. and Mrs. Jackson, they've been married almost 35 years. That's because of the balance. It's not always easy, it's not always fun, but it's a commitment that we make to each other. And so whether we're doing this together, or what the dynamic looks like. If we have little ones, we have older ones, because we still love each other. We still want to be around each other.
Yeah. One of the things that I always tell couples whenever we're talking about marriage and kind of what it looks like, and I liken it a lot of times to a road trip. And, I think too many couples get focused on where they're going, and there's nothing wrong with having a destination in mind. But I think the longer you're in a relationship and the longer you're married to a person, Marlys and I, our first place we lived was Jackson Hole, Wyoming. And we used to go down in the summertime and we would sit. It's very popular. Thousands and thousands of people go to Jackson Hole every summer because it's the south gate to Yellowstone. Mm-hmm. So you would see people from all over the world. So we would go down in the evenings. We were dirt poor. And we would sit down right underneath the arches and just watch all these people. And we would dream about what we were going to do with our life and where we were going to end up. And we've talked about the fact that, 35 years later, I don't think we were right about very much. We hadn't figured out a lot of the things, a lot of direction we thought our life would go in. It's taken completely different direction. If it had gone that way, that's great, but it didn't. But I think for a lot of couples, when that starts happening, they start going, oh, we're going the wrong way. And so then they want to get out of the car. And, even if you're going somewhere, sometimes the road doesn't take you directly. In other words, you get in the car to go to San Francisco from LA, and you wake up the next morning and you're in Phoenix, and all of a sudden everybody's bailing. Well, what's the truth? The truth is you can still get to San Francisco from Phoenix. It's just a longer route. So the most important thing at the end of every day is that you're both still in the car. And I think way too many arguments happen about, where we're going or why did we end up here. And a lot of times life, there's just about everybody in the world today is sitting in a circumstance at this moment they had no control over. This airplane landed somewhere they didn't anticipate it was going to land. And so they have a choice. They're either going to walk out on the relationship, or they're going to say, but what matters is we're still together, and we'll get up tomorrow morning, see if the car's still running, and let's chart a new course, and let's keep doing that and see where this life takes. And you hear stories of people who get on a road trip and all of a sudden they just find a town that they fell in love with. And the next thing you know, they say, what, we're going to buy a business here. And that's how they moved there. And it becomes their dream. And so I think, for couples especially, to really think in terms of the end of the day, what really matters is you guys are still in the same car and you're ready to give it another shot tomorrow morning. Not so much where you ended up for the night or how far you are from where you thought you were headed. And so just another thought.
Really well put.
Guy's got to write a book. I'll buy his first book.
Truth nuggets.
Well,
Yeah.
Well, I did write a book, but it's on death notifications, and I doubt you'd get too excited.
Wow, that car went somewhere. Off the road and into a ditch. Anyways, so.
But if you didn't survive, I can talk to your family.
Oh, boy. here we go.
Do you guys have any, well, Dean just gave one, but like, what about the rest of you guys, for all the couples out there that are, like all four of us, like we're all still together, which is good. What are some tips or takeaways that you want to share with any couples that are struggling right now during this time, that we can kind of share with everybody out there?
Everyone gets so excited to answer these right after you ask.
I told you bad questions.
They're good questions. I just think nobody wants to first one to take a stab at it.
One thing that comes to mind is being quick to forgive each other, or quick to say I'm sorry when you realize you've stuck your foot in it. Especially, I mean, we've kind of learned that over 4 years and 500 square feet. You have to do it fast, but it's don't hold grudges. Like, it's just not worth it. One thing I'm really trying to work on is not be so critical, especially right now. It's not worth the fight, the argument, the turmoil. There's so much else more important going on right now, whether it be in your marriage or, your brain. Like, there's only so much you can handle. So not making the mountains out of molehills.
I've really started living my life by the mindset of don't make permanent decisions off of temporary challenges. And so it's really easy. Like when Jill and I sort of talked about what we wanted to do in 2020, back in 2019, we had a lot of goals. It took me 5 years to get my license as a marriage and family therapist. This was supposed to be that year that, boom, everything happened. It was, we've had desires to start building a family, buying a house, doing all sorts of things. And don't worry, this is a part of it. This is a part of it. No, there's no need to apologize.
If it helps, Marlys is crying on our end. So
bad.
Oh, I got one here too. They're crying. They're all crying.
I mean, and so it's really easy when you hear about things that aren't going to happen in 2020 to sit there and go, well, we waited. And I think, Jeff, you also talked about this, of just like, and Dean, you both nailed it. You guys have given me inspiration through this talk of just the fact that it's not what we're missing out on. And I remember Jeff had a conversation with me years ago, and I always talk about it's a Starbucks conversation. But it's whether, money in your life is your goal or whatever that goal is, it can still happen. And it's going to happen. For us, it will happen. It's just how do you make it work in this moment? And so a lot of the fights that we've had have been actually having nothing to do with whatever we bring up. It's that tension, that feel of, okay, we got to give a little. Okay, we have to take a deep breath. And I have to say, Jill and I have spent more time in the Word, and I have no problem as a marriage and family therapist saying that for me, my higher power is Jesus Christ. That's just how that is. And we have spent so much more time in that. And it encourages me because I'm hearing from other people that more families are spending time breaking bread together. They're spending time in their home together. The thing that breaks my heart is I hope that when, and it's coming, that, we're going to get back to the economy and the stock market's going to go back up and the jobs are going to be there, that I hope and pray that we don't then make the meals at the dining room tables go extinct again. Yeah. Because this is where you find out what is essential. When you are stuck in your house with your family, when you're looking across from the other being who said, I want to live life with you. These are your essential moments. Thank God we've been reminded of that, because we've had a lot of distractions in our life. and we've gotten off course. But guess what? The car broke down, and we now get to understand where we're going to go from here.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm looking forward to. And that's what I hope people who are watching this can feel encouraged, because whether it's your therapist or a chaplain or whoever, we've had dreams, we've had desires of what we were going to do in 2020. And we're right there in the pain with you. But guess what? Life is going to go on. You are going to exist, and you're going to thrive. It's going to happen, but only if you hold on to that hope.
The one thing I'll say I've probably driven Judy nuts with saying, it's something I might have heard it from my parents. I don't know for sure where I heard it from, but it's probably the number one thing I always try to keep in mind with whatever it is we're going through, whatever's working or not working in life. What you focus on expands. So if you focus on all the stuff that's not working, if you focus on that, I'm not getting my paycheck right now. Unemployment insurance sucks. They're really slow to respond. All those different things. There's a lot of negative stuff. My dogs aren't behaving properly. I'm watching dogs that aren't behaving properly. Whatever it is, really bad. In a really bad mood really easily, really quickly. But if you focus on the stuff that, we every time we sit down, we pray over our meals and everything, the thing that we're always going back to is, thank God that we're home, we have a house. Thank God that we still have the money coming in to, at least make our minimum bill payments. I have a beautiful and brilliant wife who put together an awesome career before she even met me. Our puppies are safe, our family members are all safe, and we're, as bad as stuff is, it could be a lot worse. I've definitely personally lived in a lot worse situations, so maybe that's why it's I'm probably quicker to get to the expansion of all the good, because I've lived in a car and all that fun stuff when I was trying to make it when I started out. So it's one of those things where, again, if you focus on those positives, all those good and wonderful things that you have right now, it makes it a lot easier. If that becomes your reality and all that other stuff, even before the economy went south and we all got furloughed, I'm sure if you wanted to, everybody could have found something that wasn't what they wanted, that wasn't going well, that was a problem. And if that's what you focused on, guess what? You're going to be in a crappy mood. You're going to be really bummed out. You're going to be mad. You're going to be pissing everybody else off that you come in contact with. But if you focus on the positives, at the minimum, you're going to be happier about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, kind of like what Jill and Adam were saying too. I think that I'm also trying not to be as critical, saying Jill. And so every time he says the saying, it's what you focus on, expand, I roll my eyes and I'm like, I know. Is right, because I was so focused on finances. Like him being furloughed was a huge hit to all of our plans. Like we want to pay off our debt this year. We want to start a family. And I keep saying, how are you supposed to raise a human with one page? It's just like how are we supposed to do that? And so, but then I think this past Sunday, I started to realize, no, but we do have money. We still have money. We're okay. We are surviving. We have our health. We have friends. And so I think that has been really helpful. It's okay, no, focus on what we do currently have. It may not be exactly what I've always wanted or what we thought was going to happen in 2020. But I think just focusing on the positives was a good thing. I also think this whole, in a way, this shutdown thing, at first, initially, it increased my social media a lot. I didn't realize how easy it was to escape just all my, my normal nightly routine in the past was I come home from work, have my long day, I go on my phone for about an hour before bed, and then I zone out and go to sleep. Initially, the first couple of weeks, it was all the time. The little thing that tells you how many hours you spent on the phone, it it's so bad. And so I think us now changing our routine of okay, let's go off social media, let's stop using our phones. Instead of spending the 1 hour before bed being on my phone away from him, disconnected, now we have a new thing of, okay, well, let's watch a movie together, let's have popcorn, let's talk, and then pray, and then let's go to bed. So it's just readjusting, I think, what we spend our time on has been really helpful.
Well, now we're reading a book too. So.
Oh yeah, I'm also reading a book, Andrew's book, so his sister's book. So that's been it's and by the way, editing and reading a book together is something I never thought could be a couple's intervention. Oh my gosh.
We're working together.
We read at different speeds. she adds words, and then I'm like, oh, that's not right.
I know my sister for whole life. I've got a what she was going for. Sometimes I just fill in the blanks because that's what a good big brother does.
Tell a couple like, oh, like do something like a teamwork, like cook something together or build IKEA furniture together. My new thing is like, oh my gosh, read a book together, like out loud and edit it together. It's like,
We're getting
That's cool.
what about you, Jeff and Veronica?
I just think it's really important to stay on the same page, stay connected with whatever it is we're doing, whether we're doing a puzzle. We really try to stay away from the news, the television, unless we're watching like a movie or whatnot. But it's so easy at this time to grow apart, whether it's a couple or with your family or, you know, your children. And this is when we should be spending the most time with them, you know, connecting with them, seeing how their days are going, you know, how was work for them, you know, those of them that are still working. You know, I have one daughter that's out of work and I have one daughter that's still working. So, you know, just connecting with them and letting them know that we're here, we're praying for them. You know, we try to make that a routine, you know, to you know, keep everyone in our thoughts and our prayers, and just stay connected, stay focused, you know, on the positives. And Jeff does a great job of that. I kind of veer off at times. He steers me back, and yeah,
I will steer her back. I gotta pull her back.
So
I think one of the coolest things that, you know, at 7:30 when she goes into the office, I'll say, "Hey, have a great day at work. I'll see you at lunch." You know, it's trying to just make the best of what we're going through. Look, I'm not downplaying. I understand there's some difficult situations out there, but you know, I try to reframe it as best as I can to be as positive as I can in everything I do, not to dismiss or minimize all the difficulties that are out there. This works for me to reframe, like Dean was talking about, to reframe a situation, an adverse situation, something that is a challenge, and put a positive spin on it. Like, if I don't get to see my son walk across the stage, I will figure out something that will celebrate him. Trust me, I will. And it's just one of those things where I think I align with Dean in that sense, that I'm looking for a way to reframe life, right? And take the pieces that I have, reprocess, and then repurpose whatever it is life gives me and try to make it work. You know, that's what we can do. And I think life circumstances have gotten me to this point. Judy and Adam, no, I didn't set out to become a marriage and family therapist. I didn't graduate high school with that. No, life circumstances got me to this point, and God called me to this field. And I'm like, okay, like, really? Seriously? All right, sure, I'll do it, you know. And it's like going to the field that requires the most units. And then, you know what, when you're done with school, you're still not officially there. You got to get 3,000 clinical hours and then pass the licensing exam. And then we're going to say you're okay to start your own business and do this and this and this. So it's, I mean, for the public's protection, I understand, but it's a lot of work, you know. And so it's all through those times of working and then getting married, and I was in school, I was in graduate school, and I had to reframe everything to stay positive in that whole thing. Otherwise, I would have quit. You know, I think at one point I did quit. I had to put school on hold because we were getting married, buying a house, and I was getting strep throat. I was overwhelmed. So it's knowing our limits and setting boundaries, you know, what I know now, and doing those things that help us enjoy the journey. Like Dean was talking about, it's not about the destination. It's not about a place to arrive. It's just enjoying the ride together and doing it and having a good time doing it, and as best as we can, because it's not easy.
You know, one of the things too is I was just thinking when we were talking about, you know, reconnecting with people and making relationships stronger. But I think too, we have toxic relationships as well in our lives. And when you have a toxic relationship, one of the things that situations like this do for you is it's kind of a timeout. and it gives you an opportunity to really reevaluate some of your relationships. And so even as you're getting, when we are allowed to re-engage, I think during this period of time, are able to look at some of your relationships and say, you know what, that really was toxic, and I need to cut that back in my life going forward. That's not been helpful. So as much as separating and that social distancing can be difficult, it can also be very healthy, because you all of a sudden are able to reevaluate some of these relationships. And then the other thought I had, since my son had a one-liner there, I thought I'd throw one out that I like as well. And that is this: frustration in life is the gap between your expectation and reality.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you are frustrated, you really need to reassess your reality and your expectations. And you need to change one or the other. And if your reality is unchangeable at this moment, then you need to recalibrate your expectations. Right. And the reason that's so important is because, you know, let's just say, for example, a paycheck, for example. If my expectation is that I'm going to get a 5% raise, and I believe I deserve a raise of 5%, then if my boss gives me a 4% raise, I'm ticked. Yep. But if I say, you know what, I really feel like I deserve a raise, but I don't create the expectation that it's going to be a whole 5%. When he gives me 4%, I'm going to be stoked, because wow, I got 4% raise. Yeah. The raise is the same. The only thing that's different is the expectation. And so many things in life, and there's so much about what we're all going through as a nation and as a world right now, of a reality that we cannot change. So one of the ways to quickly recalibrate that is to really look at your expectations. And that's not about giving up. It's just setting realistic expectations so that you don't find yourself just frustrated day in and day out.
Absolutely. I mean, I think finding those blessings every day that we don't deserve but we've gotten is what helps us get through those days.
Absolutely.
Thank you guys for being here with all of us.
Yes, thank you for everyone who joined us. It's been amazing to have you all here. Everyone's dropped one-liners at one point or another, and it's just been an amazing experience, I would say, for myself. I don't know, how about you? Mm-hmm. Yeah? Okay.
I'm going to hug Jill when I see her, too.
Yes.
Same.
Yeah. Social distance hug.
When I see her, it'll be for reals. You and of course, my duty. Of course.
Everyone else who's out there watching, if you guys have any questions, feel free to reach out to us. Anything else you guys want to add, or?
Well, Jeff, how would they find you? Because I always want to make sure. I know someone saw this and was like, how do I meet that guy? How do they find you, Jeff?
Yeah, I mean, they can find me on Instagram, Jeff_Ortiz _LBLW for Love Big, Love Wide. You can contact me at jeff@ranabaricounseling.com, and that's my email address. But I'm out there on social media. It's not hard to find this guy, that's for sure.
There you go. And Dean, how would people find you at Cold Case?
It's just coldcasefoundation.org.
Perfect. Well, again, thank you both for taking your time, and with your spouses being here.
Thank you.
Thanks for inviting us.
Thank you.
If you're a broker in Utah, you can also go to Empower Real Estate. Marlys is a fantastic broker. I am totally biased, but I'm not wrong.
Good child.
She'll help you buy that ski property you've always wanted in Park City or Deer Valley. So.
There we go.
I'm looking for like 60 acres with elk.
We got that.
All right, perfect. I'll talk to you guys later then.
Good.
So, thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.